I'm Alex Weathersby, and this is my web series review for Don't Suck. Don't Suck is an original TV-style web series about Tyler, a gay Christian who drops out of college and leaves his small Texas town to go to New York and try to make it big. Some things that I liked about this web series were I really liked how there were a lot of big, zany comedic moments, but within those there was softer, more vulnerable moments, and I really liked that because it didn't feel like having those breaths was jarring in any way, and I really enjoyed seeing how sometimes when you're going through this huge change and you're exploring all these things and life, it just seems crazy, you can still wish that some small things were different, where you can even be lying in bed next to someone and still feel so alone. And I really liked how those elements came out in this web series. I also really liked how the characters had a lot of variety and Tyler had a lot of different relationships. Some of these relationships were very long-term. He'd known these people for a long time. There was a comfortability there. Some of these relationships were very strange. There was a lot of tension. Some people he'd only just met. So I really liked that variety of relationships so we could see how Tyler was different with different people based on how long he'd known them, what their level of comfort and vulnerability was with each other. And I also really liked the fact that Tyler is also Christian as well as gay. There's an episode where he goes a little bit more into his personal beliefs regarding that, and that was really nice to see. With Tyler specifically, the character is clearly a very sexual person, and sometimes that can be conflated with, oh, you can't be religious and also gay, and you also can't be religious and sexual, and you usually don't see representation for all three things within one person. So I really enjoyed that as well. Some things that I think this web series could have done better were there were some elements that made me deeply uncomfortable to watch that I felt like were insensitive. There's a song that uses a very fetishistic term referring to the genitalia of black men as the title. And of course, the whole joke is that the song's not actually about that. It's in a very literal way, but that was still very uncomfortable. Also, there's a joke where Tyler has to run from a cop who thinks he's soliciting for sex. It just was kind of jarring and uncomfortable to see these things that are actual huge issues. The fetishizing of black men, especially in the queer community, and the danger that sex workers experience to be played off as jokes, especially when the person who's experiencing the awkwardness or whatever it is, the person who's the butt of the joke, is a white man, where in his life this is funny, when if it was happening to, the actual people the joke's about, it definitely is not a laughing matter. So that kind of took me out of the world of the web series a little bit. Those are things that my friends experience, that people I know and love experience, so seeing those experiences turn into jokes was not super fun for me. I also felt that the episodes bounced back and forth a lot, where there would be episodes that focused very heavily on plot, what Tyler's main goals were of getting an apartment, finding a job, finding love, making it big. And then there were these episodes that were much more character focused, so sort of filling out the world around him, his relationships with certain characters. And I felt like the episodes might have flowed better and there might have been a more natural growth to the climax with the final episode of the first season if they're kind of mixed both of those pieces into each episode. So we have character moments while also having plot relevant moments, as opposed to having a whole episode where the characters are just in the park chatting. Then the next episode it's, okay, we actually have to do this thing that's very important. It also, to some degree, felt like the same joke was happening in pretty much every episode at a certain point, where Tyler would get into a creepy sexual situation. He's essentially like being flirted with or potentially sexually exploited. We see that with a restaurateur who assumes when he's asking for the bathroom that he really just wants to hook up in there. We see that when he's assumed to be soliciting for sex when he's really not. The woman that he puts in charge of finding his best friend an apartment makes a lot of comments about how she loves him and how she would do anything to be with him and stuff like that. So after a certain point, it just seemed like there was just way too many instances of the same joke, and watching creepy sexual things happen to a character just isn't fun or funny to me. It just gets really cringy really fast. I hope in the second season there's a little bit more variety with the different types of awkwardness. There's lots of different kinds of awkward in the world. Sex and nakedness or whatever it is don't necessarily need to play a part in that. I would watch this web series if you really like this sort of type of plots where the character is clearly out of their element and they're in a world that's now much, much larger than they're used to. I would also watch this series if you are really looking for a series with a gay male protagonist who's not only looking for love, but looking for sort of who he is and what type of creative person he wants to be, what he wants to do with the rest of his life. So if that's something that you're interested in, if that's representation that you want to see, then this might be a good web series for you to watch. And if you like TV style series, so you don't necessarily need the vlog, you'd prefer to see lots of different locations and zany scenarios and maybe get inside a couple people's heads rather than just sticking solely into one person telling you what they've experienced and how they feel, then this might be a good web series for you. I would probably skip this web series if you're not really looking for something that includes more mature elements like drinking and sex with swearing, masturbation, things like that. If all of that kind of turns you off or that kind of content is not really age appropriate for you, that's not really your thing, then you might want to skip this one. And if you prefer literary based or literary inspired web series, then obviously this is an original work, so you're not really going to find that connection to works that already exist. I would probably skip this web series. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. If you have recommendations for me or you'd like me to review a web series that you have worked on or participated in, please link it down below. I have a very, very long list, so I can't make promises about when reviews get posted or when I finish those series, but I will try as hard as I can to make sure that I get to everything. So thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.